Hey, everybody, here we are again. I love this idea that two people can come into a room who don't know each other at all, and they can have the courage and the honesty to just get to know each other in this room. I always wondered why that would be the case. Why would people want to talk to an imperfect stranger like myself? But then over time, what I sort of realized is, in this world we live in, there are very few spaces where people can come into, where people feel loved and accepted, listened to and heard, and acknowledged and validated. And that's my only agenda in this room, to do that for the people that come into this room. And over time, I've started to realize that's a beautiful thing for people, because not that many people are holding that space, even though there's no reason why we can't all hold that space for each other. You don't need a college degree to do it. You don't need to be ordained in some religious practice. You don't need to speak 10 languages. All you need to do is hold the space for someone to be who they are and ask them how they're doing and what's going on. So I love what goes on, because this room, which is an empty room, becomes magic when two people come into it. I should mention what I'm doing in these conversations is sponsored by the book over my left shoulder, The Mosaic. The Mosaic is a story about a boy who loses his parents 2 years apart on the same day. And when he asks the adults where his parents are, they tell him they're in a place called heaven. So he sets out in search of the place called heaven. But the people he meets are not the people he thinks he would meet, the ones he thinks would introduce him to heaven. The clergy men and women, the medicine women and men, the shamans and the priests and the rabbis and the gurus and the ministers he doesn't meet those people. He meets the trash man. He meets the road worker. He meets the blind woman and the homeless guy. And he wonders, why in the world am I meeting these people? Of all the people in the world to show me heaven, these don't seem like they're the ones. But he says, forget what I think. I'm just going to sit with them and listen to them tell me their story. And in every single case, when he sits with them and spends some time with them and just asks them about themselves and listens to their story, what he sees is the person he saw when he first walked up is not at all the person he sees now. And it isn't because they changed one moment. It's because in hearing who they are, his perception of them changed completely. So that's what I do in this room. When we don't know anything about somebody, they seem like a stranger, and we have all these preconceived notions about who they are and what they are. In this room, I like to give people the opportunity to tell us who they are, and for us to get to know them, to fall in love with them, and then to want to do the thing, to want to work with them and be with them and do projects together and things together and see how can we help each other. And over time, what's been beautiful to see happen is strangers who are watching strangers who are having a conversation contact each other and start to see how they can play together. That's the type of world I think we want to create. If you're in it with me, join this revolution of listening. Okay, this sounds like a monologue, not a conversation. I am so sorry for that, but now we've fulfilled our obligation to our sponsor. Our sponsor should say, if you have liked the story that I've just told, the little intro about the book, my sponsor would be very happy if you bought the book on Amazon. So do us a favor and do that. That would be great. I would be happy to know what you believe and how you experience the experience of the Mosaic. So please, if you do, contact me. Let me know how you're feeling, what it's done for you, and what you see differently as a result of reading this beautiful little story. Okay, come into this room with me. I have in here a beautiful man by the name of Brent D. Raymond. Brent D. Raymond, better known now in this room as Brent. How are you, brother?
Wow, I'm better just from listening to that. And I was doing pretty good to begin with.
Yeah, I think you said spectacular when I asked you in the green room.
I woke up in a great mood. I watched a cool little documentary, had a laugh with my girlfriend, was curious about this invite that I got from my good friend Dan Mangena. I get into this room and I'm feeling it, man. I'm just feeling it. So I'm very happy to be exactly here with you.
I love that. If you don't mind, I would love to know what you're feeling, because one of the things that I'm playing with right now is how powerful energy is, and how I have no idea where you live in the world or what you're doing, but our energy doesn't just exist in the spaces that we're in. Our energy can transport itself to wherever people are. And I'm watching as people are feeling that, and I'm feeling it also. It's not like I'm just energy, but I'm watching as I give energy out to people. They can be thousands of miles away and they can feel it.
Yeah.
So when you came in here and you were spectacular and now you're feeling better, how is that even possible? And what are you actually feeling that makes you say that?
I'm in my hometown for the first time in 26 years.
Wow.
I'm grounded, I'm balanced. I'm awestruck by the opportunities and the people that are coming in and out of my life. I had an incredible dinner with my father last night, and we talked about things we'd never talked about before. I learned a little bit about hormones and meat and dairy, and I'm questioning whether or not I should put a roast in the oven tonight. I just reached out on Facebook to the gentleman who was my shaman for an ayahuasca ceremony back in South Africa. And he said, anyone who wants me to sing their name in a ceremony tonight, put your name in the comments. That was the last thing I did before getting on this. I'm just in awe of my life and the people in it and the things that I've created for me and for others. And I feel happy. I feel ready. I feel exuberant. I feel present. I feel light. I feel powerful. I'm just happy, man.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. But then you said something happened when you came in this room and you felt even better. What is that all about?
I saw your beard and I saw your light and I saw your eyes and I saw the book and I looked at your name and I don't know you. I don't know who you are. I don't know why I'm here, but I know that being part of being in flow and surrendering led me to this incredible moment with this incredible man. And I don't know who you're talking to. I don't know why you're recording this. I don't know where this goes, but I love that I just jump 2 feet into everything I do. And I don't think twice and I'm not fearful. And I just go, this is my next thing. 2 feet in, let's see what happens.
I love
You
that.
know? Yeah.
To the listener who's listening,
Sure.
are you hearing? And to the listener who's listening to us have this conversation, who's listening, are you hearing what's going on? How are you living life? Are you living life with jumping both feet in? Are you living life a little hesitant? Are you walking into spaces but not fully walking into spaces? Take a listen to what Brent just said and think what life would look like if you jumped in both feet. Bob Dylan used to say, don't think twice, it's all right. Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. Right? And just what a philosophy of life to just jump in. Tell us who you are a little bit. We don't know who you're from Adam, so tell us who you are.
Sure. I'm a 43-year-old Caucasian man that lives in Port Moody, British Columbia, Canada. I'm proud to say my middle initial D is, I'm the third Douglas in my generation. My grandfather fought he was in an engine room in a merchant ship, but he was part of the war for the Canadian Navy and in World War II, thankfully survived. My father is Mark Douglas Raymond. I love him to bits. He gets frustrated with his forehand in tennis because he's laser focused at being the best he can at everything he does. And I love that about him. I've been married. I've been divorced. I've owned a financial company. I've been in hospitality. Had a 5-year gap life, if you will, which started with a gap year when I traveled around the world in 2015 to 9 different countries with my best friend, my then girlfriend. Had some incredible adventures, learned how to scuba dive. Back to Canada, lived with an incredible woman with 2 amazing daughters. Got to be a stepfather for a few years. Opened my heart to what that could and would be like as a father. that didn't work out. Went around the world again. This time, meeting my best friend on a traveling maternity for him and his wife, and they invited me along to be a part of their journey. Led me to see a friend I hadn't seen in 25 years in Taiwan, and then my father and I scuba dived in Palau. Came back to Canada, realized financial company isn't for me. Sold my business, sold my truck. Jumped on a plane again and did a 13.5-month journey around the world that opened my mind to spirituality and ultimately led me to you. And through all that, open mind, open heart, learning and growing and healing. And somehow my journey returned me home, literally to my childhood home that I hadn't been in 26 years. And of all the places I went and all the places I thought I might end up, to end up in Port Moody, British Columbia, I feel like my roots can now grow the deepest so that I can fly the highest. And here I am.
Beautiful. When, again, for the listener, when someone asks you who you are, how do you answer? And listen to how Brent answered. I mean, how in touch he is with the things that he's going through and where he is now. And you get a flavor from the picture he painted of who this man is. I sure do. So when people ask you how are you and where you are and who you are, does the answer you give a picture of you that gives a flavor to you of who you actually are to people? When you speak to people, what is it you want them to hear? And what is the picture that you create showing them? Brent, what makes you happy?
Good music, playing sports, playing games, a good bottle of wine, scuba diving, being around people having a good time, whatever that looks like, whether it's a trance festival in Mozambique or a boat ride in Belcarra or two guys playing chess in an intense environment. Just whatever that moment is, when I'm present in that moment, when I'm really present in that moment and there's no distractions and I can just be and give my full attention to whatever's in front of me, it's the greatest gift. I feel very blessed at all the opportunities I've had just to be happy. And man, that list, I can go on for the whole hour.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
When you talk about being present in the moment,
Yeah.
I know there are a lot of people that would like to have that feeling. And yet they are so caught up in memories of the past or worries of the future or thoughts of everything but the present. What's your practice for being in the moment?
It's a practice. It takes work. And breath work for me is huge. I learned Tai Chi about 2.5 years ago, and there's something about widening my stance, grounding myself where I'm at, putting my hands just down by my side, pointing towards the earth, sort of opening my mind and my breathways, my airways up, and taking in a 5-second breath, holding it for 5 seconds, releasing it for 5 seconds. And one thing that really works for me is I try to turn off one of my other senses to enhance the other 4. And usually I close my eyes. Sometimes I close my ears, but there's something about closing my eyes and listening to what's going on, including this incredible storm that just started in the last 15 minutes. All of a sudden the wind and the trees are going crazy. This is awesome. So yeah, that's typically what I do. And then I challenge and go to my brain and just try to soften the thoughts. I did a 10-day silent meditation of Vipassana in Nepal last April. And what a challenge. I'd never meditated before. There's the 2 feet in again, right? Just right into 10-day silent. And the challenge of having the challenge of just calming the thoughts. For me, it's usually about the past. I don't often go to the future. I almost always go to the past. And my old pattern was to beat myself with a stick, to punish myself, to loathe the decisions I made in my past. So a trick that I've used and it's worked is when I feel myself going and feel myself about to punish myself, my past self, I go, and I really believe it, and I try to embrace it, is I honor myself in that moment. I honor all the decisions that I'd made in my past to get to become this man who is here in this moment today. And it's a practice. It's hard, but it's worth it.
So what if it wasn't hard?
Oh,
What if it was actually the easiest thing in the whole world?
I'd have infinite possibilities. I'd be limitless. I would be able to create a world and a life around me where everyone shares in the light, and I bring everyone to the top of the mountain with me, and we slowly but surely raise the consciousness of the world and take care of nature, and all have a lot of fun, and everyone's in alignment with their values, and creation becomes sort of limitless and seamless.
So I want to pause for a minute, and I want to just bring the listener in as well, if I can.
Yeah.
What story are you believing about your life? Because the Mosaic taught me a formula.
Mm-hmm.
Our thoughts become our words create our stories, and our stories become our life. So look at the beauty in one moment of how Brent responded. First of all, he's talking about an amazing concept of living in the moment and how the challenge of that is. And that's so understandable. I mean, I don't mean to downplay that or minimize that at all, because I know that possibility too. But the more we tell ourselves how hard it is, the more we buy into that story, and it's becomes harder and harder, because that's the story we told ourselves that makes our life what our life is. But what if we were to tell ourselves it's easy? Listen to the difference of the scenario that he painted when he thought for a moment, hold it, gosh, if that was easy, then blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Why would we choose to live in a reality that's hard when we can choose to live in a reality that's easy? Your thoughts?
Why would we choose to live in a reality when it's hard?
That's hard. That we want to call hard when it's actually very easy to do.
I believe it's part of the human experience. I believe what was passed on from my father, my mother, the childhood life that I led, all of the moments in my 43 years to get to this moment, there were challenges. I was often unconscious, if you will. Plenty of drugs and alcohol, plenty of broken relationships, attracting people to my life that fit at the time, for sure. And my brain often goes there to punish me and makes it hard. And in some ways, the story I'm telling myself is that it was because I had a pretty easy childhood. I was given all the gifts. I was given my mother and my godmother spent so much time with me from age 1 to age 6 that I was so far ahead of the other students getting into kindergarten that, I was playing chess at an early age, and I knew I could do basic math. I could do so many things that I started out life on such a tangent. I was going, straight up, that at one point I believe I realized that it would always be easy for me and that I wouldn't have to work that hard, that I put in my time.
And sorry, what made you forget that realization?
Ego, pride, arrogance, sort of my sins. School was easy. Sports were easy.
Can I throw something out to you and just tell me if,
please,
because what I get is something different.
Okay, please.
But that doesn't mean it's right. So throw it away, put it in the trash can.
Sure.
Just a thought. where did you learn to loathe yourself instead of love
Huh.
yourself?
Yeah.
Because it feels to me like you had everything going for you. Your course was set. All you had to do is not sabotage yourself and tear yourself
Yeah.
off of it.
Yeah.
And it feels like you just somehow said, no, that's not. I've got to hurt myself somehow.
Yeah. That's it.
So thank you
Where
for confirming that. Why and when and how? Because I'm sure there are so many people that are listening right now that are caught in that same moment where things seem to be going so well and then they just self-destructed.
I believe it was gradual. I don't know. And I've done a lot of work on this, and I
Sure.
don't. I've tried blaming my dad. I've tried blaming a divorce. There was a fire in our house. There was a fire in our house that I woke up in the middle of the night. I've since recognized that, but I was 16. Somewhere along the way, I feel like I needed more of a challenge, and I decided to challenge myself. The chess player in me went, "No, we're just gonna pull your queen off the board. Let's see how you do with your bishops and knights." And it is 100% me sabotaging myself. I had all the opportunities, but I still had a good life.
Right. So I'm less interested in what you had
Yeah.
and more interested in what you have.
Yeah.
So when you even said that, you said, I had all the opportunities. You have all the opportunities.
Certainly. And that's
So
where
go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I said, and that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at today. That's not where I'm at today, but I still have this story and this loathing because I could have been a lot more, because I could have done a lot more, because there was a lot of wasted time.
Says who?
Me,
And how do you know you're right?
because I was there every step of the way.
And I don't mean to challenge you, but I want to, like, this is what I want to understand because you
Yeah.
represent so many people, I think, that feel like us. I'm going to include myself because I'm just talking to a mirror here anyway.
Sure.
Okay. Um, we started out our conversation and I asked you how you are, and you said spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I believe in a mosaic that makes up our life, that every single piece, every single thing that happens, when we put all those pieces together, creates this mosaic of who we are. That mosaic of who you are, when I asked you how you are, how you're doing, is spectacular.
Yeah.
Why do you believe that any piece should have been different than it was? Because right now you're in this spectacular moment. Why do you
Because
believe you need to be more than you are, or you
I
could have been better than you are? Why isn't who you are just beautiful because you're spectacular?
because I had the talent, I had the opportunity, I had the will, and I had the heart to feel this way at any step of the way before this.
Okay.
I've often believed, and I've certainly had opinions to support this, and a lot of evidence support that I'm one with the most wasted potential.
Huh.
That I could have been greater. I could have been the leader of a revolution. I could have been a CEO of a company. I could have been Prime Minister of Canada. I could have been a world-class athlete. There's so many things I could have been, but I was just me to this point. And now, in the last 6 months, I finally feel ready to be all those things I could have been that I wasn't ready for.
Okay. So you said you were a stepdad for a little while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know how old the kids were you were with, but
Yeah.
if you were to try to teach them something that was 20 years beyond their understanding, they just wouldn't be ready for it. They wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because they don't have the potential to do it. It's not because they can't do it. It's not because they couldn't have seen the way to do it. It's just a certain amount of time. It's like a wine. when you first make it, it's not going to taste as good as if you put it there and let it sit for a while. Over time, it didn't do anything wrong. It just takes a certain amount of time to mature.
Yeah.
Why can't you see yourself in that same way?
I'm starting to.
Okay.
I'm starting to.
Okay. So, and yet I noticed in a lot of your words, and again, this is just me trying to understand you. I had, rather than I have. Like everything you've done, everything I've done, everything that the listener's done up until this point is so spectacularly necessary for us to be right where we are right now, if we don't continue doing the things that we've learned not to continue to do. And it just takes a certain amount of time for us to do that. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are, I feel a competitive passion coming back, which I love about me. I love my competitiveness. I love my passion. And I believe when that's guided and when that's balanced and when that's towards the thing that's in my truest expression, there's no stopping me. I can be anything I want to be. I believe that. And these stories and the self-loathing and the chemicals and the things that I self-medicated with for many, many years, just been breaking free of those in the last few weeks. And I wake up spectacular. So I believe I'm at a 2.0. I believe this mini retirement is over. My gap life is over. My 5 years from 38 to 43, where I took a break, took 3 breaks. Being here in this town, in this moment, with the things I've learned, I feel limitless. I feel this is the time for me. And I feel ready. And one thing I've invited into my life is coaching and support and reading and leading with curiosity, things that that weren't my strengths through my 20s and 30s.
So as you sit here right now,
Yeah.
what does Brent D. Raymond want to be?
Exactly that. I want to be Brent D. Raymond.
And what's that mean to you?
Oh, wow. I want to have fun. I want to volunteer. I want to love. I want to stay close to my family. I want to continue to develop new friends. I want to have new adventures. I want to keep jumping 2 feet in. I want to be.
So let me jump in here.
Yeah.
Because that Brent D. Raymond sounds like the Brent D. Raymond you've already described to me.
Yeah.
So what's different about this Brent D. Raymond that you have to loathe that Brent D. Raymond that you already were, and you have this big realization that here I am now, I can do what I never could do before. What is it that you want to do? Because the Brent D. Raymond that you are describing seems like the Brent D. Raymond that you've explained to me is the life that you've been living, which to me is a beautiful life. How cool is that?
Yeah.
You can go away, you can take time off, you can explore the world, you can meet people, you can do all that stuff. But there's something in that that's left you feeling like who you were was not who you needed to be. Who do you need to be now to make all of that worthwhile?
Who do I need to be now to make all of that worthwhile?
Yeah, to convince yourself that all that wasn't a waste of time. because that's all that needs to happen. You're convincing yourself that what you've done wasn't a waste of time, even though you have a story that says I wasted all this time. I could have
Sure.
been, I should have been, I should have done, I would have been, like I had, but I didn't. And then now it was a waste of time. And now I'm here and I'm making this change and I'm realizing now that I can do what I wanted to do. Well, what is that? Because when I asked you what that was, it sounded a lot like the continuation of what you've been, which to me is beautiful. But to you, somehow, the way you've painted it wasn't that beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you understand my question?
I do. I understand the question. I'm trying to find that thing that's outside my comfort zone. I'm trying to find that thing in the clouds to reach for. I'm trying to see what it is I can achieve, and nothing's coming up.
So can I make a suggestion to you?
Yes.
Or just I want to lob it over the net, because I think so many of us do this.
Yeah.
We make a goal for ourselves that we don't even necessarily agree with or think about because we think we have to be a certain person. What if the goal that's outside of your comfort zone is to love and accept yourself?
Oh, yes.
To listen to yourself and hear all the beautiful things that have happened, to acknowledge and validate that every single thing that's gone on in your life has been essential for you.
Yeah.
And will continue to be that way. And that you don't have to control it or fix it or be somebody other than you are. Because the truth of the matter is, you are Brent D. Raymond. You don't have to strive to be it. That's who you are.
Yeah. I want that.
You have that.
That's my answer.
You have that. But so I'm lobbing over the net. What if you already have that?
Yeah.
But you're looking for it someplace else.
Yeah. And it comes back to the being present and just being. And honoring that I've been what I needed to be at each point to get to here, and honoring this moment and honoring the next one. Yeah, I think I'm on the precipice of all that, just going, oh, you figured it out. You know, that this is me.
Do you feel a shift that's just happened in you right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
This is the coaching and the support and the mirror this is why I love Dan. This is why I've already fallen in love with you. Showing me that and seeing that and listening to my words and having a different and seeing it and listening to what I'm saying. I'd like to think that at some point I can be out there looking back at me and going and just keeping myself accountable and being on and honoring myself and being compassionate, having empathy and just loving me. You know, that I think that is that missing link for me. But it's close and it's getting warmer, but I'm not quite there for sure.
Why do you think you're not there?
Because I haven't chosen to be there yet.
How about in this moment you choose to be there?
Yeah.
What would that look like?
I'd be more spectacular. Yeah. Yeah.
So let me ask you about that, because I think we live in a society right now where everybody wants to be a superpower. Everybody wants to be a mass, a caped character. They want to be a Marvel comic character. And we're all talking about these superpowers that we have. And we're all talking about how excellent we have to be and how extraordinary we have to be. Well, the people that I met in the Mosaic were the most ordinary of people. And I wondered, why am I meeting these ordinary people? Let's try something for a minute. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being something you don't want to be and 10 being what you would die to be, like that's exactly what you want. And that's more than that. It's what you want your kids to have. Where would you place the quality of ordinary? Is that something you loathe, or is it something you like?
The quality of ordinary?
Yeah, being ordinary. If someone were to say, God, Brent D. Raymond, he's ordinary, would that be something that you would feel how would you feel about that?
What a great question. Ordinary. Can you define ordinary? Do I need to define ordinary?
I'd like you to define it, because it's the definition is in your head of what it is.
Yeah. Ordinary.
Let me try and define it for you in terms you've already given me.
Sure.
When someone has spectacular moments and is always spectacular, It's possible they may be missing ordinary.
Yeah.
So my guess is, and let me qualify it even more. On that same scale of 1 being what you don't want to be and 10 being what you do want to be, where would you put the quality of extraordinary? Would you choose to be ordinary or extraordinary?
I would choose to be extraordinary.
Great. And so now knowing that, what number would ordinary have?
It would be a 5.
Okay. And what number would extraordinary have?
It'd be a 9.
Okay. So if ordinary is a 5, why do you want to be extra of something that's a 5?
I feel I have gifts to share with the world that are more than just ordinary.
Okay. So I want to lob something over the net, because in the hundreds of conversations that I've had captured on tape, and in the millions of conversations I've had over the course of my life, I'm starting to come to a conclusion that the reason why people loathe themselves is because they're trying to be something they're not. They're trying to be extraordinary all the time. And they believe they have to be these extraordinary people. They believe, but even Superman takes off his cape and puts on his glasses and just lives a normal life sometimes. And when we hold as our bar this measure of extraordinary, it's an unsustainable reality. And so we hold and believe we have to be these extraordinary people when we can't do that all the time. It's impossible, because then ordinary won't exist. And I thought about what ordinary is. Can you tell me what's more beautiful than a sunrise or a sunset? It's absolutely ordinary. It happens every single day. We even know the minute it will happen. Can you tell me what's more beautiful than watching the leaves of a tree change colors?
Yeah.
It's absolutely ordinary. It happens all the time. Can you tell me what's more extraordinary, what's more beautiful than watching the bud appear on a stem and a flower come through that bud? Most ordinary thing in the world. It happens all the time. Where in the world did ordinary become such an ugly concept? The mountain doesn't try and become the river, nor does the river try to become the mountain. They're just happy with who they are. Why do we feel we have to be more than we are? And maybe that's the reason why we loathe ourselves and we sabotage ourselves, because we feel we have to be something up here rather than just this beautiful, beautiful, spectacular human being that we are. It's quite ordinary. And that extraordinary things happen from Mosaic when extraordinaries come together. We were never meant to play the game alone. When extraordinaries come together, we create extraordinary situations. Your thoughts?
You just lit me up. My thought is just a smile. I just have a wide-ranging smile on my face. That context and that idea that maybe I've just been ordinary. Maybe I've just been me.
Yeah.
And maybe we all have extraordinary potential. And maybe one day you get to a point where by being ordinary in your own unique way is simply extraordinary enough. And I can hear my sister, I can hear my mom, I can hear so many people in my life taking that stance and saying that for me, and me going, no, I'm not good enough yet. I can do more. You're great how you are. I can do more, and I think when I sit with this, and I will, in this storm, I hope to experience and feel that maybe for the first time.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And I want to just invite the listener into this conversation again. How many times are people telling you that who you are and how you are is so magnificent and beautiful? And how many times are you saying to yourself and to the world around you, but I can do more? And but I can, that but negates everything that people say. And it creates a new reality of you not being good enough. And we're plagued by a pandemic now that's going around the world, but there's another pandemic that's happening, which is one of I'm not good enough. I'm not enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it's partially because the image that we want to hold of ourselves is something that's unsustainable. And why not just be ourselves? Why not just be happy with who we are? I love what's happened in this conversation, and
Me too.
I love your openness to receive it. So thank you for
Yeah.
doing that. Do you feel like you're able to listen to people?
Yes.
What's the greatest benefit you've gotten from listening to other people?
I get to grow a little bit more. They get to be seen and heard. And connection grows.
So can I challenge something, because I want to put it in context because I want to understand what you're saying better.
Yeah.
So when your mom and your sister tell you how beautiful you are,
Yeah.
and you say, but I can do better.
Yeah.
Tell me how listening might change that scenario for you. Or are you listening? I'm assuming right then that you're not listening because you're in your own head, listening to this voice that wants you to be better than you are and more than you are. But I don't want to assume that. Tell me what it looks like on the overhead projector when mom and sister tell you, boy, Brent D, Raymond, you just have to be yourself. You're amazing. And Brent D, Raymond, then another sheet comes on and Brent D, Raymond says, yeah, but that's not good enough. I could have done more.
Yeah. Thinking of that example of me listening and what that does for me when I'm open, when they say something to me, or they're either encouraging or complimenting or holding space that I'm great, and I say I'm not, I challenge them, I'm discounting their words.
Yeah.
I'm wow. Yeah. I'm altering their truth.
Yeah. And it wouldn't, and so I just want people to see how stories we tell ourselves go to battle with each other when we don't even mean them to go to battle. Because when I asked Brent if he was a good listener, he said, yeah, I listen to people. And then the people the closest to him, because he told us how much he loves his family.
Yeah.
Tell him something, but he wants his reality or what he believes to oversee what they believe, and there's reason for us sometimes to know what's right for us. But in this particular case, with this issue that he's been grappling with for 45 years of wanting and thinking he had to be more,
Mm-hmm.
and people telling him, no, you're just great like as you are. And our thought that we do listen, but then maybe we don't listen. Just interesting grist for the mill.
You know what just occurred to me?
Tell me.
Today I'm supposed to be in Bellingham, Washington for the first day of a 3-day weekend called Inside Passage. And Inside Passage is about empathy and compassion for yourself. And I can't go because the border is closed. And this conversation is coming up. Wow. We're always exactly where we're meant to be.
Yeah. And how cool is that, right?
That is cool.
Let me ask you a couple more things. What are you most scared of?
What am I most scared of? The thoughts in my head.
Tell me more.
Not reaching my potential. For me. I'm scared of sabotaging myself. Wow. I have almost no, I can't think of an external fear. There's nothing outside this garage door that scares me. Nothing. Scorpions. And scorpions. I'm scared of scorpions. I'm scared of not being a father. I'm scared of living my life and not having a chance to be a father. That scares me. That scares me.
Okay. So I don't know if the listener heard it as I heard it, and if you hear it when you hear it back, as I heard it too, but I heard this beautiful period of time where we spent just talking about how that need to be reach your potential has already been, you may already be there, and the only potential you really need to reach is how beautiful you already are, and to just ride that wave.
Sure.
And then after that conversation, I said, what are you most scared of? He said, not reaching my potential, which is just really interesting to see how embedded this thought is.
Yeah.
That you feel like you have to be something other than you are. What if your potential was just to be more of who you are? And just to accept who you are. And just let that be the thrust that guides you. Let that be the engine that drives your car. Rather than you thinking you have to get to some destination or be some person or do something. Just interesting. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just interesting thoughts to contemplate.
There's work to be done.
Yeah, for all of us. I mean, and I wonder if the listener is going through the same conversation, because if they aren't, I would encourage you to. What part of you is saying that I am not good enough right now, that I haven't reached my potential? And what is that I'm not good enough, I haven't reached my potential, seeding into every other thing that you do, which is telling you you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
And what if you were good enough? What if you weren't only good enough, you were great enough? What if what you are unseated with anything else is the most beautiful thing that could ever be? Just like that little bud that's saying, I'm not good enough, I'm not a flower yet. Yeah, it just takes a little bit of time and it will become a flower. There's nothing it's doing wrong. What are you most excited by?
What am I most excited by? All of the little joys that I spoke of earlier. I'm excited by, honestly, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be alive. I'm excited to wake up and smell and sit in the bird sanctuary. And I'm excited by my podcast and my new career and all these cool things I'm doing, the people I've surrounded myself, the weather, the landscape, this. I'm awestruck with a lot of things. I'm excited by life itself, by everything I do.
I love that answer, because as I asked the question, I was hoping you weren't going to say by my potential.
Yeah.
And I was willing to hear that answer, but I love that wasn't the answer you gave.
Fair enough.
And so if you look at what excites you, it wasn't becoming your potential.
No.
It was all the things that are happening around you and all the things you're experiencing. And so your excitement is your answer to some of the situations that you're working your way through.
Yeah.
Stay in your excitement. How cool is that?
I feel spectacular.
There you go. There you go.
But I do. I really do.
I
And
know
that
that.
I know. So do
You
I.
can feel it.
I know. I really, and this is, yeah. Ah, potential might just be opportunity. You know, it potential is, I'm excited by the opportunities that lie ahead and that are already here.
Yeah.
You know, I think I know I finally see this limitless possibilities.
Yeah.
And it's exciting to know in this moment I can choose whatever path I want to achieve anything I want for my good, for the greater good, for the people around me, and just keep growing, man. I mean,
I had a cool experience the other day. Someone that I had in this room as a stranger said to me, I would like to reverse the script. I would like to be the one to ask the questions. Would you let me do that? And I said, sure, that'd be great.
yeah.
And she asked me, what am I most excited by, or what am I most pleased by? Something similar to what I asked. And I said, I'm just excited to be this person because I really like this guy.
Yeah.
And it's taken me some time to like this guy, but I really like this guy. I mean, there are little things that I can look at that I can say, you know, I'm too fat, or my body has pains in it. And I can look at those things and say that I don't like those things about me. Those are honest things, but they're not truthful things. Truth is, I really love this person that I've become. And that, yeah, it has some little things that are not great, but the person in totality of who I am, I'm in love with this person because I'm just so happy to be able to wake up and live in this mind, in this body, in this heart, in this soul. And I thought, what a beautiful thing for me to be able to say. I certainly wouldn't have been able to say that 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And so do you believe truth and honesty are the same thing?
I believe truth and honesty are the same thing. They're very similar. Wow. I don't know how to answer that.
Can I tell you a story?
Please.
When I was in the seminary, the Rebbe that I was studying with told me, you're too honest, but you're not truthful enough.
Huh.
And I said, what the heck? Did we just turn into a Zen monastery here? Like, what the heck does that mean? He said, well, let me tell you a story, if I may. I said, sure, if it's going to help me understand what you're telling me, tell me anything. And he said, here's what honesty is. Honesty is you go home and you say to your girlfriend or your wife, I thought about you every moment of the day, except for 45 seconds when this woman walked by. I couldn't take my eyes off her. She was gorgeous. What do you think your girlfriend or wife hears? Do you think she hears that you thought about her for 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 15 seconds? Or do you think she hears the 45 seconds you didn't think about her?
Absolutely.
That's honesty.
Mm-hmm. Truth
is, baby, I thought about you almost every minute of the day today, and I just love that you're in my life, and I love that you're here with me, because when I think about you, it just makes me happy. That's truth. Because that tells your woman what you really feel. Do you believe you're truthful with yourself or honest with yourself? And partly, let me put it together a little more. I believe it's the honesty that makes us loathe ourselves rather than the truth.
Yeah. I agree. And I would say I'm more honest with myself than truthful.
Yeah. And if we perceive them to be similar to each other or the same, then we think, well, gosh, honesty is truthfulness.
Yeah.
But that slight deviation, that slight difference creates it. It's almost imperceivable when you see it where you are. But riding the road of truth and honesty and that slight deviation, you end up in, if you follow the road of truth, you end up in a completely different destination than you do if you follow the road of honesty. And you have to choose which is the destination you want to have.
Yeah. And I take pride, if you will, in how honest I am.
Yes.
And I wonder now how truthful I've been.
Yeah.
And from this moment forward, how much more truth I will invite into my own life.
Yeah. What the Rebbe then said to me is, your honesty is destroying your truth. And it took me a while to understand it, but I do understand it now. And so it's just so interesting. Remember, our thoughts become our words become our stories, and our stories make up our life. So what are the thoughts we're thinking? What are the feelings that we're having? What's one thing when you look at the world you hope will change?
More people in impoverished countries get water, clean, drinkable water.
Yeah. What would be one thing you would do to try and make that happen? Not what the world would do. What's one thing you can do that might make that happen?
Increase my donation to Charity Water every month, knowing that they're doing exactly that on my behalf.
Cool. So for those of you who are listening, because remember, we're just messengers of some message that's coming through us to everybody who's listening. If you're interested in getting clean drinking water to people that don't have clean drinking water, that walk miles and miles and miles to take dirty, infected drinking water back to their villages and don't have clean drinking water, why don't you look up Charity Water? And why don't you make whatever donation feels comfortable to you? Make 50 cents, $1, $5, $1,000, $1 million, whatever you feel you can want to give, to bring that, and do it in Brent's name right now, because Brent has the desire to do that himself.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is your platform, man. If you had 2 minutes to say something to the world that we live in, and you knew the world was listening, what would you say?
Shine your light. Look inside to who you really are and who you've always been meant to be. Understand your own personal driving needs, those things when you were a child that you've always wanted to do, that brought you the most joy, that are those unique gifts that you have. Go back and look at those, find them again, and jump 2 feet in and try, get coaching, do something new. Whatever it is, do what makes your heart and your soul sing. And the people around you, your family, your boss, whoever you have in your circle, they benefit from you being the best version and the most authentic version of yourself. So don't be afraid to do the work. And if it's painful, if it's hard, if you have doubt, whatever support you need to get past that and expand your comfort zone, to understand that you're only here on earth for a limited amount of time, and we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Jump 2 feet in. That vacation, that phone call to a relative, whatever it is, just do it, act, and do it in alignment with who you are. And from there, that message hopefully and will be seen, and you'll influence people around you for them to maybe make a change in their life. And one by one, the world becomes a better place.
What happened just then?
I felt like I may have influenced someone, even just one person.
Yeah.
And they may pass that message on in their own unique way to whoever it is. And they might change for the better. They might become whole again. They might shed doubts. They might not worry about their potential and simply be. Feels like the work of a light worker.
Yeah. Well, you've definitely influenced one person, because you've influenced me. And I thank you for taking the time to just share who you are with us. I thank you for coming here and being so open and honest and vulnerable, for taking the risk to look at yourself in a public forum, and for having the beautiful quality of being able to see something you haven't seen before, and see if you want to continue to see things that way. That you question. When I was recruited by a company by the name of Vistage, and Vistage takes CEOs and have them lead workshops and retreats for other CEOs. I ended up deciding not to go with them because of stuff that I just didn't feel compatible with. But they said something that I loved, and I wished I had come up with it, because it's what I do. But I always credit them for the line that they say. And they say, people come to us thinking that we're going to answer their questions. But instead, what we do is we question their answers. And I think that's such a brilliant way to live life, to just question your answers. Because what we see in any given moment, like Mo, when he looked at the people that he met along the road, that's just what you see in that moment. It isn't what is. It's not at all what is. And when you question what you see, or take time to listen to another person, or to see what's really there, if you would get out of the way, what you see is entirely different. For those of you at home listening, I want to ask you, did you see what happened in this room? Before Brent D. Raymond walked into this room, I didn't even know that he existed. Look what happened in an hour's worth of time. It didn't even take an hour. It took a few moments. But let's say it took the whole hour. I walk out of this room with a new brother and a friend. And look how seemingly effortless it is to have a stranger become a friend. Take the opportunity to go up to someone you don't know. Invite someone that you don't know, either virtually or in person, to just have a conversation together. Listen to them without an agenda, and see what happens. When we live in a world of strangers, the world becomes a strange place. But when we live in a world of friends, that same world becomes a friendly place. It's so easy for strangers to become friends. All we have to do is hold the space for them to feel loved and accepted, listened to and heard, acknowledged and validated. And you can see with Brent, I questioned some of the things he said, but I didn't do it with the thought of, I'm right, you're wrong. I just questioned them. Do that with people. Love people. Love yourself. Do it with yourself. What you do for others, do for yourself too. Include yourself in that practice. And as Brent said, What would happen for you if you jumped both feet into life? What would that look like? Brent, if people have fallen in love with you as much as I have, we're going to have all your things listed, all your URLs, your social media, but how's the best way for them to reach you? What's the one place that's surefire that they'll get through to you?
At 11111 on your recording. Playful Paladin at Instagram, PlayfulPaladin. And the podcast that I just launched is Chakras and Shit, a playful look at spirituality. Chakras is SHAKRASANDSHIT. It's also my other Instagram handle.
Perfect. And we'll have all the spellings of that in the show notes, so you don't have to worry about writing them down. Just look in the show notes and you'll get all of that. Is there anything else you want to say before we leave?
Don't be afraid to be ordinary.
I love that. I feel like Mo, my main character in the Mosaic, is speaking now through you. So I love that. Again, I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up the way you showed up. And for listeners, until the next stranger walks into this room, be kind to each other. Be kind to yourself. Love each other. Love yourself. Look at the world and imagine what it might look like if you got out of your own way and you could see it for what it is, rather than seeing it all the time the way you are. In essence, that's the story of the Mosaic. I thank you. My sponsor thanks you. And until the next stranger walks in, stay happy, stay safe, stay calm, and stay in love. Ciao.
Ciao.